Um, Good evening to Madam Angela. So today my group and I would like to present about literary analysis of poetry. So my group members are myself, Siti Nur Hidayah, Nadhrah Suhailah, Diviyasni, Kesha, and Ling Hing. So before that, we will go to the author's biography. So our poem is basically a poetry called I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. So the genre of the poem is basically a romance. So the author detail is the author full detail is his full name was written by William Wordsworth, was born on April 7, 1770 in Cockermouth, Cumberland, England. One of his notable works was called The Ruined Cottage, and he sadly passed away on 23rd April 1850 at the age of 80 in Westmoreland, England. So this is the detail of the author. His full name was William Wordsworth. He was born in April 17, April 7, 1770. One of his work is Ruined Cottage, and he died on 23rd of April 1850 at the age of 18 in Westmoreland, England. So this is one of his collection of poems, which I believe there's variety choices of his poem inside of the collection. And we will move to the publisher itself was written by himself, William Wordsworth. The poem was first published in 1807 and republished again in 1815. So the purpose of his poem is was written as a lyrical poem to capture the bewitching beauty of wildflowers and express a deeper feelings and emotion of the poem. It has become an internal classic describing nature and its scenic beauty. So meaning that the way he wrote his poem basically focuses to more of the beauty of nature, the beautiful of scenery, and somewhat a little bit of a romance element in it. So next we will go to poetry. So this is his poem that he wrote. I wandered lonely as a cloud, and then we will go deeper inside the poem. So the element of poetry.
The element of the poetry first is literal. I wandered lonely as a cloud is a romantic era poem. I wandered lonely as a cloud begins with that line. I wandered lonely as a cloud. Wordsworth is talking about how he is walking through nature and making an observation. He is alone and sort of drifting without a definite aim or purpose. For figurative meaning, the poem uses a simile to describe how the speaker compares himself to a cloud freely wandering atop the valleys and hills. This way of describing the feeling of the speaker reveals that he could be seeing the sight through a bird's eye view as clouds are located above hilltops and valleys. So next is the theme of the poem, are the companionship of nature, the endurance of memory, and the richness of sensation. The subject of the matter is I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, is based on recollections of the Ullsbutter scene described by Dorothy Wordsworth, William Wordsworth's sister, in April 1802. At that time, Dorothy, William, and their friends went for a walk along the river.
Okay, so for the style of the poem I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth and pinpoint some specific elements the author uses in order to enhance the overall lyrical qualities of the text. The poem does not play with language extensively. So next, moving on to the language that is consists of simile, personification, and metaphor. This device mainly functions by ascribing human emotions to the natural world. Wordsworth uses simile in numerous stanzas to describe how the persona feels towards the sight of daffodils. To it is also notable that the poet is fond of using personification in describing the moments and ambience. The persona also speaks in metaphors as he compares the sets of daffodils to a crowd which mostly likely pertains to people.
Now we will go to the mood and tone and mood. So basically, the tone of this poem, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, is emotive, hyperbolic, and expressive and thoughtful. It is in the first stanza, the tone of the speaker helps reader to understand how he felt after seeing the daffodils on a specific event. As a poem progresses, Woolworth intensive it appears hyperbolic, and the mood of the poem is it talks about the speaker is out walking in nature. His mood is lonely as he was wandered along. Suddenly he sees a field of daffodils. One imagines him coming up or over a rise and seeing a spread out before him a luxurious field of yellow flowers blowing in the breeze.
The atmosphere, I wonder, lonely as a cloud, as the remote otherworldly atmosphere that is suggested by the title. The speaker feels like a cloud, distant and separate from the world below, but this distance becomes a good thing when he comes upon the daffodils, which are like little stars. Next structure is made of 4 stanzas, each with 6 lines. The rhyming pattern is in the order A, B, A, B, C, C. This makes the structure of the poem a combination of quatrains and complete. The poem also has iambic tetrameter.
Me. So for the rhyme scheme is A B A B C C. Each stanza feels independent and self-sufficient. This is called a rhyming couplet. There aren't any slant rhymes to trick you. On the left, the first stanza with the rhyme schemes is labeled. The rhythm. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud consists of 4 stanzas with 6 lines each for a total of 24 lines.
Right. Then we will go to the poetic devices. So Nadhrah, you can read the imagery.
Okay. The imaginary, the words in a poem do create. Usually, the imaginary, the words in a poem do create a visual imagery in mind, and this refers to the first stanza, lines 4, 5, and 6. A host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. This imagery uses the sense of taste. Through this visual imagery has reminded me of something that I have experienced in my personal life, and also it helps me to better understand the meaning of the poem.
Okay, the symbol. The symbol of the poem is a stressed, unstressed unit called an IMB. IMB. For the 4 IMB in each level, we descended the rhythm pattern of I Wandered Only as an iambic parameter. There are 4 rhymes pattern in English poetry: iambic, trochaic, anapestic, and dialectic. Now moving on to the next slide.
Repetition. Certain words or phrases are being repeated in a line which is I gazed and gazed by little thought. Gazed and gazed implies that the persona is staring, the just keeps on staring. This clearly shows that the persona does know what to think.
Now to the next.
To describe how the speaker compares himself to a cloud freely wandering atop the valleys and hills. The feeling of the speaker reveals that he could be seen the sight through a bird's eye view as clouds are located above hills, tepe, and valleys.
All right.
Metaphor. The metaphor of the poem is that Wordsworth has used one metaphor in this poem in the last stanza as they flash upon that inward eye. Here, inward eye represents the sweet memory of daffodils. For example, imagery. The use of imagery makes the reader visualize the writer's feelings and emotions.
Nadhrah.
The personification of the poem attributes human characteristics to lifeless objects. The poet has personified daffodils in the third line of the poem, such as when all at once I saw a crowd. The crowd shows the number of daffodils. The second example of personification is used in the second stanza as tossing their heads and sprightly dance. It shows that the daffodils are humans that can dance. The third example is in the third stanza, such as in the Johnson Company. Here he considered the daffodils are his poet company. The second stanza are tossing their heads and sprightly dance. It shows that the daffodils are humans that can dance. The third example is in the third stanza, such as in the Johnson Company. Here he considered the daffodils are his poet company.
Next is the oxymoron. The oxymoron of the poem is the captivating beauty of nature. In detail, the poets are encounters with the majestic daffodil in the field beside the lake.
Okay, the hyperbole that touches or focus on this poem is a literary device that shows excreted statements. In the poem, I wandered as a lonely cloud. The poet used hyperbole to show that he saw many daffodils at a glance. 10,000 saw I at a glance. He has not counted them one by one. However, they were large in number. The poet used hyperbole to depict them.
So for the alliteration for the poem is the repetition of some consonant sound in the same line of the poetry. The uses of G sound in I guess, and the use of W sound in what wealth the show to me had brought.
Onomatopoeia by the word fluttering and onomatopoeia, the author established a certain impression of a rhythm within the line, and this is why the flowers movement is so vivid but not disorganized.
The next slide.
Next is assonance. The assonance of the poem is the repetition of vowel sounds in the same line, such as the sound of A in 10,000 I saw at a glance, and E sound in day stretch in never ending.
Is the repetition of consonant sound thus as the sound of K and with what will the sound show to me how bright and end sound in invention of infancy.
So that's it for me and my group and I. So thank you.